Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Today is the 51st day in a row where Iqaluit residents haven't been able to drink their tap water due to fuel contamination. The Army's effort to provide water is still stalled. Government approval for the needed fixes is slow to come, and residents are irritated. Kent Driscoll has this from Iqaluit.
This is out at the Sylvia Grinnell River in Iqaluit today, where the armed forces were purifying water to distribute to Iqaluit residents. A windstorm a week ago took out one of their tents, so this is where they've moved the operation. This hangar at the Iqaluit airport is known as the FOL, Forward Operating Location. It's a NORAD hangar for fighter jets. While the armed forces remain optimistic, they've only been able to provide water for 11 days of the 51 where we've had no drinking water. Everyone had higher hopes for that project, including Iqaluit Mayor Kenny Bell.
I'm not sure if this was the best course of action for us. It's added a lot of extra work, trying to switch over. Our trucks need 24 hours to switch over between sources, between cleaning and flushing. Changing any kind of service is really hard for us, especially in the middle of an emergency.
That means bottled water is what is being distributed. Who distributes that? Mostly City of Iqaluit recreation workers. What does that mean for Iqaluit? The pool and the gym are closed. The hockey rinks are closed 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. The staff are already working.
Yeah, because we don't have enough staff. So we had to pull staff from our rec facilities to help deliver water. And again, we've been trying to hire people for $32 an hour to hand out water and ask for volunteers and ask for government assistance with their staff. None of those things have happened.
The city has been testing the tap water. They say it now passes every test they put it through. The government in Nunavut provided the city a checklist of things they need to see before the do not consume order is lifted. Iqaluit's mayor thinks their list goes too far and is preventing a return to safe drinking water.
But those are for future problems that could exist. So we have some concerns about that, of course, because the water's been testing good since at least the 23rd of last month. Of October. We've been under a do not consume for a long time with clean water coming out of our plant. So of course we're getting to the point where we can't operate anymore.
So on day 51, Iqaluit waits. We don't drink the tap water. We don't use the recreation facilities. We line up for water. There's a saying that Iqaluit residents can really identify with. When you carry your own water, you learn the value of every drop. Kent Driscoll, APTN National News, Iqaluit.
Thanks, Kent. Well, many First Nations communities still don't have clean drinking water, and now a new report says the Trudeau government may be meeting infrastructure needs in these communities, but they still have a long way to go. 43. That is the number of boil water advisories that remain in First Nation communities. The Trudeau government promised to eliminate all on-reserve water advisories by this spring, but they haven't even come close. The Parliamentary Budget Officer released a report Tuesday about First Nations water. It finds that the government may be providing enough money for water treatment facilities, but the amount of money needed to hire operators is nowhere near enough. In fact, it's a shortfall of $138 million a year.
The attention tends to be focused on the big announcement, the build, the new building, the new equipment, the new infrastructure, the new toys, because it's easy to put that in an announcement or in a photo op, but it's much more boring, as I referred to earlier in our discussion, much more boring to talk about operating and maintenance and training to ensure that you have the right persons to operate these expensive systems.
Quebec's COVID-19 case numbers are spiking to their highest seen in over 6 months, leaving First Nations and Inuit communities bracing for pre-holiday impact of the pandemic's so-called fifth wave. Here's Lindsay Richardson now with the latest.
Things were good while they lasted, but Quebec's health minister is back to being the bearer of bad news.
I confirm that for the moment, a first case of the new variant has been confirmed in Quebec.
By Wednesday, the daily COVID count in Quebec surpassed 1,200 cases, the highest they've been since April. The vaccine rollout for kids aged 5 to 11 is underway. But in the meantime, Dubé says cases are going up in schools. International travel, also cause for concern.
We can see that the variant is starting to spread all over the world, So no matter where you travel, you must be careful.
This week, the feds confirmed Canada's first case of the Omicron variant came through the Montreal airport. Another came through Ottawa. While the Delta variant is still dominant in Quebec, the Cree Health Board says their eyes are on Ottawa, and this week reported one travel-related case in Iqaluit. With their first COVID-related death not far in the rear view, the northern Quebec region of Nunavik is reporting a total of 62 cases. Communities in central Quebec, like Wamotashi, are seeing small COVID clusters tied to schools. Council is pressing parents to vaccinate their kids and report their symptoms ASAP.
Si la personne a des symptômes puis elle attend une semaine puis elle a la COVID, ben, il y a beaucoup plus de risques de propager l'infection dans la communauté.
But the risk remains highest to the south, like in Ganawage Mohawk territory, reporting 29 active cases and 70 community members in isolation. Kids there can line up for their shots as of this weekend, but public safety still considers it a red alert situation.
We're all here, trying to minimize this. We don't want to overreact, but we don't want to underreact as well, because we want to get a handle on where things are going. Everybody wants to have a safe, holiday season. Everybody wants to enjoy the holiday season, especially our children.
Quebec's Public Health Ministry says the next 2 weeks are critical, and without improvement, they'll likely be doubling down on preventative measures again in time for the holidays in hopes of lowering the daily case count. In the meantime, they're pressing for booster shots and vaccination of the 5 to 11 age group whenever and wherever those vaccines are available. Lindsay Richardson, APTN National News, Montreal.
Thanks, Lindsay. We want to hear what you think about any of the stories we bring to you. Here's how you can share your thoughts. Send your emails to news@aptn.ca. You can leave a comment on aptnnews.ca. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see all of our latest stories. The Yukon has surpassed British Columbia in having the highest opioid death rate in Canada. The Yukon's rate for overdose deaths is per 100,000 is 48.4. That exceeds the BC rate of 40.4 deaths per 100,000. The Yukon Coroner's Service says at least 21 people in the territory have died this year from toxic illicit drug use. All of the deaths involved opioids in various forms of fentanyl. Since 2016, 54 people in the territory have died from illicit opioid use. Well, the government of Nova Scotia is ending birth alerts. This last year, Nova Scotia issued 80 such alerts. If a parent was high risk, social services could order the newborn to be seized at birth. The National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women called birth alerts racist and discriminatory back in 2019 and called for government to immediately ban the practice. Now, Quebec is the last province in the country to allow birth alerts. We need to take a quick break, but still ahead, what could be the last gas pipeline project in Canada. Stay with us. Iqaluit Nation in the Northwest Territories is celebrating a new chapter with the opening of an all-season road to an isolated Dene community. Our reporter Charlotte Mort Jacobs takes us along for the ride.
At 10 a.m. Tuesday, November 30th, 2021, the fly-in community of Wati, Northwest Territories, became permanently connected by an all-season road.
Hi! Are you excited too?
For the Iqaluit Nation, it's a historic day.
It's a very exciting time, and for Wati people, very economical because they spent a lot of money on freight.
For highway staff, the main priority is keeping people safe on the 97-kilometer, two-lane highway.
We know it's going to be high traffic for the first day opening, right? We're trying to space out the vehicles for safety because this is the first day it's being open.
6 kilometers down the southern entrance of the highway, we drop by the Mi'kmaq camp. The road crosses an old trap line.
My great-grandfather, he was the one that made that trail way back in the late 20s or 30s, somewhere around there.
In 2014, a fire ravaged the area and burnt everything in its path except this tree, now adorned with a photo of Mi'kmaq's late father and respected elder, Joseph.
What importance does that tree have for you?
Can I say this in my own language? Yeah.
That his father has told the family that there's a reason why this tree didn't burn down, because it's very special to this nature of this area. As we gather here as a family, we pray to that tree as well, and we did a little bit of ceremony here, as he explained, when we first arrived, and did a little prayer. Bobby led the prayer.
Iqaluit Grand Chief Jackson Lafferty paid the land at the spiritual tree.
Some of the elders have feared traveling by planes, single order, and they want to travel by. In the past, the dog teams and the snowmobile came, and then now the vehicles went to road. And as you know, the climate change, everything's changing around us, and the freeze up takes a while.
The highway also connects winter roads to Gamati and Wekwati. At $185 million, the Iqaluit Highway was built in partnership between many governments. It links to Highway 3, where passengers can make the 3-hour drive west to Yellowknife or go south to Edmonton. The roughly 530-person community of Wati is no longer cut off by water and wilderness, and they're expecting more tourists to flock to the pristine area of Lac La Martin.
The next 2 weeks are solidly booked, so we're getting a lot of business.
At the hotel, Jonathan Vandal says he's hoping for investment in lakeside tours.
In the warmer seasons, we have people come in and they want to know if we can point them in the direction of anybody that could take them out onto the lake, either for a tour or for fishing.
It's a new economic chapter for Wati.
It opens up possibilities of maybe working abroad, but still coming back here for the weekend and such, especially with the gold mine that they're planning on opening up in the next few years.
Charlotte Mort Jacobs, APTN National News, Wati.
Saskatchewan drivers will see new signs on the provincial highways in early 2022. APTN's Leanne Sanders explains.
Saskatchewan lies on several treaty territories, and soon the boundary of the two largest, Treaty 6 and Treaty 4, will be identified by an official provincial highway sign on Highway 11 between Saskatoon and Regina. Saskatchewan Treaty Commissioner Mary Culbertson says the signs will help educate people about the treaties.
It's a small thing, but it's a big thing too, because it's going to be the first sign. Right, and we have how many treaty territories throughout where this province lies now, right? There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and Treaty 5 as well. And they go across where these provincial boundaries are, right? And we have to acknowledge that.
Culbertson says the approval process for the design and language to be used on the signs hit a snag with the provincial government over Indigenous language and signage standards.
We have a Languages Act now. We have to acknowledge that our Indigenous languages were here long before English or the two official languages of this country, and we have to start acknowledging that and keep pushing those things. And our governments have that responsibility to be enabling legislation so they can have these Indigenous languages included.
Culbertson says people in positions of power have the responsibility to move things forward, even if it's as small as a sign.
You know, these treaties were here before these provinces were created, before these roads were here. That boundary was there since 1874. You know, so it took that long for it to be acknowledged in a modern day context with a sign.
Leanne Sanders, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
A new report says Phase 1 of the LNG Canada export terminal could be the last liquefied natural gas pipeline project in British Columbia. That's according to the Institute for Energy, Economic and Financial Analysis. That U.S. think tank promotes the transition away from fossil fuels. Daryl Stranger caught up with the lead author, Omar Maji.
Omar, thanks for joining us. Can you tell me why the financial picture for the LNG Canada project in BC looks a little less rosy now than it did just a few years ago?
Yeah, so I think, you know, the way we looked at LNG Canada Phase 1 project in our report was we looked at changes in the development of natural gas for LNG Canada, and then we looked at the Coastal GasLink pipeline, and then we looked at markets in Asia and how it relates to the profitability of the project in its entirety. And so you're seeing there are a lot of policy changes that have occurred in British Columbia that are putting pressure on, for example, sustainable development of natural gas production in the Montney. And that comes from, a lot of it comes from actually the recent ruling of the Blueberry River First Nations and the British Columbia government. There's also protests along the Coastal GasLink pipeline, political pressures related to the Coastal GasLink pipeline, and countless other political risks associated with the project's development that have occurred over the last 3 years that continue to put pressure on profits of the project entirely.
So Omar, how is what is currently going on in the Wet'suwet'en territory and with the Coastal GasLink pipeline affecting this project?
Yeah, so we don't go into particular detail on the protests that are occurring right now, but we do mention the fact that any further delays on the Coastal GasLink pipeline will add to costs for the entire project. Coastal GasLink is essentially the most essential part of the project, and if it doesn't get on time, LNG really can't get shipped from the Kitimat facility. And so, so any protests, any disruptions in the construction process that cause further delays will likely increase costs, and someone, whether it's LNG Canada or TC Energy that builds the Coastal GasLink pipeline, one of the two are going to have to bear the costs.
Now, LNG Canada has made the argument that this project will reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So what are some of the flaws with that argument?
So really in this report, we look at greenhouse gas emissions as it relates to BC's targets. And so, you know, when we look at British Columbia's targets, they look at reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 40% from 2007 levels in 2030. This project will start shipping LNG in around 2026 if everything stays the same. And so that will add 7% to greenhouse gas emissions in British Columbia. So the question really is who is going to offset those increases in greenhouse gas emissions, and who's going to end up paying for it? Will it be LNG Canada or will it be the BC government, and how are they going to fund that?
Okay, so Omar, how has declining oil prices affected this project?
So oil prices haven't significantly impacted the project. It's really dependent on natural gas prices. And really it's an infrastructure project at the end of the day. So really, you know, any cost increases on the fixed cost side is what will impact the project most. So, you know, there can be the argument made that a lot of the wells in the BC Montney produced products, liquids that are related to the price of oil, but it's not going to significantly impact natural gas prices, essentially.
All right, definitely a lot to think about there. Omar, I want to thank you for taking a few minutes out of your day to speak with us today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much.
It's time for another break, but when we come back, updating several APTN Investigates stories, including one that won Canada's top journalism prize. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's time for our photo of the day. As the temperatures warm on the first day of December, this is the home of APTN located in downtown Winnipeg. Thanks to our viewer Jimmy Cortez for sending us this photo. Keep sending us your photos to share at aptn.ca and then tune in each day to see if you are our next photo of the day. Starting on the East Coast, we got 2 and sunshine for Charlottetown, 3 and some flurries for Halifax. Happy Valley Goose Bay -3 and snow. Kuujjuaq -18 and snow. Saguenay, snow, 1 degree, same with Quebec City. North Bay, you got cloud and 4 degrees, 0 in Sault Ste. Marie and snow there. -12 and snow for Kapuskasing. Sunshine, -18 for Big Trout Lake. Sunshine and -23 for Churchill. God's Lake, -16 and sunny skies. Mix of sun and cloud, -3 for Winnipeg, -2 with a mix of sun and cloud for Dauphin. 5 and snow for Swift Current, 2 and snow for Saskatoon. -3 and snow for Buffalo Narrows and La Ronge, -16 and snow for Uranium City. -3 and sunshine for Grand Prairie, -6 and snow for Fort McMurray. 2 and snow for Edmonton, 10 and sunshine for Medicine Hat. 0 and cloud for Kamloops, -1 and sunny for Quesnel. Prince George, -2 and sunshine. Dease Lake, sunny as well, -9. Old Crow, mostly sunny, -27. Snow and -27 for Mayo. Fort Simpson, snow, -22, -32 for Wrigley. -26 and snow for Colville Lake. Palatec, -29 and clear skies. -29 and clear for Baker Lake, 2. Nuyot, -19 and snow. Arctic Bay, mix of sun and cloud, -19. Resolute, snow and -29. APTN's streaming service Lumi is set to add a number of films by award-winning filmmaker Alanis Obomsawin. Obamsawin is a member of the Abenaki Nation, and her work chronicles the lives and injustices faced by Indigenous people. She's a 2-time Governor General Award recipient and is also an officer of the Order of Canada. Starting December 1st to 11 of her 53 films will be featured on APTN Lumi. It's a compilation of films. It spans 35 years from 1984 to 2019. Lots of binge watching there. APTN Investigates has been doing in-depth stories for 13 seasons, and today on In Focus, I talked to past and current reporters to update developments on some of those bombshell reports. Missioner Award winner Kenneth Jackson joined us to talk about his story, the death report, about 3 sisters in northwestern Ontario who all died by suicide within 7 months of each other.
But for some First Nation children, particularly in Treaty 3, where Chittiwin is, safety is not an illusion. It doesn't exist, and they know it.
Yeah.
You know, and they're waiting for their next attack, whether it be from the state, from from within their communities, or inside their very homes. This hard truth, which that is surrounded by darkness, and we want to lighten that darkness with our reporting, because there's a lot of bad actors hiding in there, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to shine a light on this darkness that exists, because these kids aren't safe in some places, in some situations. Whether sometimes they're not safe at home or in the communities, or in the foster homes, and we need to look at why. And we want to lay that truth bare, as respectfully and as forcibly as possible. So we're going back to Treaty 3 for our next story, in pursuit of those that abuse children and women. Because I believe, from what I can see and those I talk to, and in my opinion is based on those who live this, that sexual abuse and other forms of abuse, of neglect or whatever, but particularly sexual abuse, is a key reason why you see the cycle of grandmother, mother, children, all in care. And we got to somehow break that cycle. Like, I'm not saying that our reporting can do it, but maybe we can create a ripple, like intergenerational trauma or the hate that you see in people for the trauma that we've written about. Maybe we can create another ripple where it slowly starts to change.
It was great to catch up on some of those older shows with our cousins at APTN Investigates. Did you know that all of those old shows can be found on YouTube on APTN Investigates' very own channel? We are out of time for your midweek news. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you back here tomorrow.